that's followed to carry out data science process basically require many operation to do, many operation that we have seen. We have started with research goal setup, then we have shown the data retrieval, then we are going to have the data preparation, how do you prepare the data, then transformation, many are there. Let's talk in detail step by step here in this topic. Let me start my presentation. Okay, so we are in the phase of data preparation. The next operation is data combination, data combine. Okay, we may have different sources of the data. We are having different type of the data. Obviously, type is it's great, but if you have different sources of the data will come from different places, and this substep will focus on integrating these different sources together. I want to find the hottest year or the coolest year in last 20 years. So I will get the data, but the data will be taken year by year. Okay, year by year, and inside year by year, I'm having a data day by day. And combining all that data, only I can find which is the hottest or coolest year in it. This is just an example. So data from different places, different sources are there. I'll take that data, I'll combine it, and then I will go for performing the operations. One more example, like I want to check the literacy rate of the India, but I am not available with that. I am having a data from different states. Different states have given their data, and I want to find a collaborative literacy of the India. So what I can do, I need to combine that. Then only I can perform operations. So different sources can be there. Different type of data may also be possible. For example, someone is collecting data in CSV file, someone is collecting data in Excel file, and someone are collecting data in database MySQL. Then what to do? Diverse sources are present. We can combine, can collect them. We are having data importing method, and after data importing, I'll combine them together to form a common model present with us. The data will combine together. So data will vary in size, type, structure, ranging from databases to Excel file or text document will be there. So how to work with that? Methodology, proper methodology from programming language point of view should be applied. Then only we can effectively manage my data and effectively perform further data transformation operations onto it. So it is easy to fill an entire book on this topic alone. Okay, and we choose a focus on data science process instead of presenting scenario for every type of the data. But keep in mind that other type of data sources exist, such as key value stores, document stores. The key value store, if you have heard about MongoDB, it is stored in that format. Document is also there, document format data is stored, and so on. So we'll handle more appropriate places in the box, so we can perform many operations with that. So different ways are there by which we can follow to combine this kind of the data. So what are the ways? The first operation is joining. Join. If you have come across the concept of database management system, so you may be knowing this combination, join operation that we do in data science, databases. Enriching an observation from one table with information from other table, that's what we call as a joining can do. Second operation is appending or stacking. Joining can be done like this. Columns are connected together. And appending will be done like rows. We are appending together. Okay. So maybe, for example, if I'm having a data of student information, okay, where 4 columns are there, I need to add one more column of gender. A gender column is not there. I need to add it. So I'll make use of a join. If present in other table, I will connect it and I will combine it, and then I'll join these tables together to form a combined element, new data that's available for my data science project afterwards. Second operation is appending or stacking. Stacking is keeping one on each other. So adding observations of one table to those of another table is done with the appending or stacking operations. When you combine data, you have the option to create a new physical table or virtual table by creating a view. The advantage of view is that it doesn't consume more disk space. You might be knowing, again, this is just a revision of database. View is created. View means temporary table is created, physical virtual table inside the memory is created, not actually stored inside the SQL database. We create that view, and then after that creating a view, you combine it and then we store into the databases, or we temporarily create it. View temporary can be created to perform your operations on it. When the operations are over, then we'll delete the view from the memory, so it will not take the space. This is also one of the method that we can choose to combine the data. Or let's talk about the joining a table. Joining table allows you to combine the information from one observation found in one table with the information that you find in another table. The focus is on enriching a single observation. Let's say that the first table contains information about the purchase of a customer, and the other table contains information from the region where your customer lives. Okay. Now joining the table allows you to combine the information so that you can use it for the model. Some features, some data is present in one table, some data is in another table, some data is in another table, but there is a common factor present in that, common key, which will act to combine this particular, join these particular tables column by column. That's what joining is done. If you have done outer join, inner join, left outer join, right outer join, like that, so similar concepts are there, and that's possible in all the programming language also, Python and R. Joining the tables can be done so much easily. Same way you can just, we have followed here. Check out the example presented here. Two data sources I have. First data table, I'm having the client, item and month. Okay, the client name, item, his purchase, and the month. Second contains client name and the region. Okay, now I want to combine them, so I need to find the connecting factor. Connecting factor is the name of the client. See the client name which are shown over there. So name of the client is the connecting factor that will be used, and we'll combine them. Now in the first column, client, item, month, I'm adding region also. You can see the region is also added there, NYNC. Combine, join the table. That we are knowing that is outer join, which is created by this particular concept. And when you are taking the different data sources, so we have to combine them together and we'll perform further. This is also one of the data processing step. If the data is taken from different sources, or in the same folder I'm having multiple data set, that's also we have to take care of. Second option is appending the table. So appending or stacking table is effectively adding observation from one table to another table, but make sure that their column should be same, but first column are different, second columns are different, so create some discrepancies in the data. So one table contain the observation from the month January, and second table contain observation from the month February, but columns are same. The result of appending this table is larger one with observation from January as well as February. The equivalent operation in set theory would be union. You know the union of tables can be done, and this also command in SQL, that also you might be knowing. Union is present, a common language or relational databases, that's SQL, can use it there. Other set of operators like data science, we can use difference, intersection, union. The three common operations of the data set are possible. We can make use in the appending of the tables. How it's done, check it out. So I want to append these two. See this, client, item and month. Okay, appending the data from one table is a common operation, but requires an equal structure of table being appended. That is to note. Okay, equal structure will be present. If they are not there, data cannot be appended to each other. If you consider about the Python, I'm having the pandas package to work something like that with this particular task. We'll see that one. We are having many methods: merge, join, append, and attach also. So many methods. Their literal meaning is same, but the operation that we do with them is different. Okay, merging is different, joining is different, appending is different. That we can do. So as per your requirement, we have to combine, collaborate the data if it is there from different tables, or if it is containing different sort of information for single kind. So appending of the table will be done. This is the way that we append the tables together. And this is what we are having the view, concept of view. View is just a temporary table that we have talked about. It's a virtual table created. Like you can see this one, I just want to combine them. So we have to create a view. January sales are taken, we have February sales, we have December month sales. Okay, till all means from February to December, all month sales are given there, and I want to combine them. We can check how they combined. Yearly sales, we can combine it in a virtual table, and after that we can store in a physical table. So whatever 365 days are there, all they will be combined. Then I can use that data for performing the data analytics operation to it, data modeling operation to it, or data any kind of transformation or any other that you want to do afterwards. But this is how we can do. View without replications, it does. Take the data from different sources which are of same type, combine it, and then we can use it further with this. Yeah, this is what the combining operation. Next is aggregating the measures, the next data preparation operations. Data enrichment can also be done by adding calculated information in the table. Yes, calculated information in the table, such as total number of sales or what percentage of total stock has been sold in certain region. I don't know. See, for example, in a table of students, I'm having the marks of every subject. Okay, but from my data modeling, I don't require that. I require what's the class grade the student has achieved. I'm having only marks of per subject, but what I want to aggregate. I want to add them. Three operations are required. Add them first. Second, divide. Find a percentage. Second. Third, after percentage, you have to find a grade. Okay. Then we'll find the grade. Means first class, second class, pass class, or failed, or distinction. Like that information we can find afterwards. That's what aggregate. Common operation you have to do on all kind of data. If you heard about the concept of aggregate functions in SQL, same concept is there. So the data is not present, we have to add it as per a requirement. You have to combine, you have to make sure that data is present, or you have to create this data from originally available data. So extra measures such as that this can add perspective. Looking at the figure, I'll show the figure. We now have aggregated data set and turns to calculate participation of each product in its category. See this. See, this is a product mass. Then the product. Okay, so what category it has? Like sport and sport 1, sport and sport 2. Shoes 1. Sales in dollars are given here. Okay. Then here the sales for Y, sales in T-1 previous day. Then how much growth you have carried, that we can see. Previous day's growth, that T-1 is taken, and current day's growth. So you can check previous day 98 and next day 95. So we are having minus 3.6% growth. Minus means it is decreasing actually. See, this growth is not given in the data set, but we have to calculate by formula. Getting it? Calculate by formula. Remember that. Okay. Here formula is applied and we can generate this result. You can check same thing for many different data sets also. This is what we are manipulating the data entries. Then sales by product class. This also aggregation is applied here. A and X. These two. A into X. 215 to 15. 10. For the rank sale, N into X is done. Number of product sales into X. That's what is done. And accordingly is calculated. So this could be useful during data exploration. But more so when we are creating a data model, that is important. For data model, this data play a very important role. Most of the time we don't require it. For example, many examples we can say about it. For example, in data set I am given with a date of birth. But for my data model I require the age. So using date of birth, I can identify the age of the respective person. Okay. Age of that respective person, and then you can go ahead with it. So this is how we can make use of the aggregating measures. Many aggregating measures are there. We can apply and generate new columns in the data set. Yes. This is what the data preparation is. So before using any kind of operation onto it, you have to prepare your data from all of these angles, like removing impossible values, removing outliers, combining data, aggregating the data. These all operations are required. Now let's go for the data transformation. Data transformation. I'll just revise the diagram again, what we have seen. See, we are having the first step. We are here now, data transformation. So setting research goal, then retrieving a data, that we have seen the data preparation. Okay, in data preparation, we have seen the operation of combining the data. We have seen operation of data cleansing. So here we have seen errors, physically impossible values, missing values, outliers, typos, error against code book. Okay, then we have seen combining also, merging data sets. Then we have seen set operation. Then we have seen creating views, and now we go to the next step. Data preparation is data transformation. This one. In data transformation, again, many different possibilities are there. What we can do, okay, so let's see that what operation that we can do with this. Yeah, data transformation. Okay, certain models require their data to be in certain shape. Transformation. Certain shape means in that format only I require my data. So we have to transform that data in the specific format. That's called a transformation. So now we have cleansed and integrated the data. That's what next step will perform, is transforming your data so it takes suitable form of the data modeling. Now, transformation. Relationship between an input variable and output variable are always not linear. So let's take a relationship like y is equal to ae raised to bx. Let's take it. So taking a log of independent variable simplify the estimation of problem dramatically. Check this out. Here, this is your original data. You can see all 10 entries are there. Okay, input is this and this is output. Okay. Input and this is output. You can see first is 0, second is 0.44, third is 0.69, fourth is 0.87, then gone using it. Okay, so when I plot this data, so you just can find this x against y in this way. Okay, and now I want to convert that data to get matched with this. Sorry, this is the first case. Original data that we have like this. Data is something like this. In this way it's created. But I want this data to be on the line. So I can apply some function, that transformation function, the data will transform from that angle to another format. So I am applying a log of x function here. When you apply log of x function, my data will become linear. Something like this. Maybe. So this is what simple example that we have, data transformation. Okay, transformation, again, just like all other steps, data preparation is very important step in all the step in data science processes, because it decides how effectively you build your model, what is the accuracy of your data model is there. Okay, so this is one of the example which I shown, data transformation. Let's talk about small steps which are present within the data transformation phase. Now the first phase is reducing the number of variables. Reducing the number of variables. Sometimes you have too many variables and need to reduce the number because they don't add new information to the model. See, the operation that we do, data analytics, data mining, machine learning, they focuses on the data and its importance. If the data is important, use that only. If it's not important, discard. In a data set, if the roll number of the student is given, serial number of the product is given, okay, or ID of some patient is given, that ID, serial number, roll number will not have any impact in the output. They will not be used for any purpose. ID is just a number to recognize you, but you will not have any impact in the output. That column will not have any impact in the output. So when you do data analytics, data mining, machine learning, such variable should be removed. That is called reducing a number of variables. Such variables which are not much useful from modeling point of view, you have to remove that. So why? Reason. Having too many variables in your model makes the model difficult to handle, and certain techniques don't perform well when we have overload them in too many input variables. It's overloading. Machine learning algorithm, data mining algorithm, data analytics technique will not work correctly if that data is added as an extra variable present there. So what we have to do? Remove that variable, reduce the number of variables, number of columns which we have presented over there. For instance, the technique based on the Euclidean distance will perform well up to the 10 variables. Like we can make use of such technique, Euclidean distance, if you have heard about Euclidean distance is the method which we use to check the distance. So check the distance calculation is done there by using this method. So formula is mentioned over there. That this technique also we can use to check the relationship which are very common present in all the different variables present there. Okay, we can make use of such. So this technique that generally we call as a feature selection or feature extraction. Feature selection, feature extraction. Feature and label, two names are there. Feature means input variable, label means output variable in the data set that we call. For example, if I'm having a data set of the years of experience of employee and salary of the employee. See, experience is not depending upon salary, but salary depends upon experience. So we can say that in this data, salary is the dependent variable and experience is the independent variable. So experience is input variable, salary is the output variable. That's what we can say. Input output. Okay, so input variable should be perfect. They should not be like roll number. Roll number ID of the employee will not affect the salary, obviously. So remove that one. So that we can reduce. Input output variable can be confirmed, and after input variables are confirmed, then only we can change which input variables are required, which are not required. Remember that. That's what. Then another transformation method that we call as a dummy variable. So talk about this dummy variable. Variable that comes into dummy variable. I'll show the figure of it. Dummy variable that will take two values, called as 0 and 1. They are used to indicate the absence of a categorical effect that may explain the observation. In case you will make separate columns for the classes stored in one variable, indicate one class present is 0. Let's see this one. See, the thing I'll explain first. Data modeling actually don't have the information. They actually don't have information. They don't require information in string format. They will work on the numerical format. So what we have to do, we have to encode the string information, categorical kind of information, into number format. So that case we require encoding, and that's called dummy variable. See this one, gender, F and M are there. Okay, I require the data F should be in 0 and M should be in 1 format, like it. Or I will create a separate columns for them. See this one. So whether F is present there, so you can check this how it transform. Here male is present, 0 will be there. F is present, 0 will be 1 will be there. For male 1, these three are male. Okay, and this is female and this is female. Okay, check it out. See the numbers according to sorted here, 1 1 2 2 3 4. So 1 1 are the female, 2 and 3, sorry, 2 3 3 male and female, like this. Okay, 3 sorry male and this is female, last one. So this data is converted to format. Here male and second is female. Where the male is present, it will show 1. Where the female is present, it will show 1. So whole data category of it is converted these two format. So string data is converted to numerical format. This is called a dummy variable. Dummies. Generally, we call it as one-hot encoding method. One-hot encoding. What's required? Because to build the model, string variable will not be useful. So we have to use the number variable there. This is the way that dummies can be created. So like we are having the many type variables, like we have yes or no, convert that into dummy variables. Or example like column, this contains weekdays into columns like Monday to Sunday. So we will indicator to show the observation was Monday, put 1 on Monday and 0 elsewhere. Like that's how we can do it. So turning variable into dummies is a technique that used in modeling in popular with but not exclusive to economists. Dummy variables we can apply. So number will have information, not the strings. That's why dummy variables are used. Let me show you one concept here, how exactly dummy variables are used. See, for example, let's say one, this one, which we are used here. Like student information I'm having. And I need to process that data. Okay. Yeah, check this out. Let's put some values here. Okay, something like this. We have a data set. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just delete this name. Now I have data's roll number, class, marks, and age. Fine. And let's see how dummy variables are created. So in both we have, in Python also and R also, same things are possible. I'll just show the method using Python here, how dummy variables are actually created. Pandas is the package that we use here in Python. So we can convert that into dummy variable format. Let's see. I'll read this file. See, file is present here. Okay. Now I want to convert. So only one column is present here, class BET, but this will not be used in modeling, mathematical modeling. Cannot use this particular column as it is. So what we have to do, we have to convert this column into the format, or into the format which we require in numerical format there. How to do this one? Let's see.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So we are not able to see the Python screen. We are able to see the presentation only.
Just a minute. Now see this. So the data set which is present with me, now it is seen, I think. Okay. The roll number, class, marks, and age, like this kind of the data that I'm having with me here. And when I am to build the model, so this information that's present here is in string format. So that cannot be used as it is because the information is string format. So we need to transform this data into the dummy variable kind of format. That is, it will convert the data in 0 and 1 format only, whether it's 0 or 1. So for that purpose, we'll be making use of a dummy variable concept. How to use it? So let's see. I've just opened my Python terminal here and I'm reading this data. Okay, so the data is read. Can see the complete data which is present in CSV file. I just opened it and that's stored into variable df, roll number, class, marks, and age. Okay, and now let's see. I'll just show you by using the functions. Df. Now see, this is a dummy variable that we have created. Roll number, marks, age, and class are converted into two different categories. Wherever the class B is present, there we can see 1 is written. Where the class T is present, class T is separate column is created. Here class T in B, and here 1 is present for T, here 1 is present for B. So complete data that you see, it's converted from the string format into the numerical format. So model building is possible in that case. So this is one of the technique. There is one more technique which is present called a label encoding. By using label encoding, in the same column itself, we can have 0 and 1. We can write the 0 and 1, and accordingly we can generate the result. So its separate columns are not created. But as per the convenience of the data scientist or data analyst, we can choose the method. Either you have to use dummy variable or we have to use the label encoding technique there. So this is how the dummy variable technique will actually work. Check this out. Okay. So this is the first step that we generally do. The next one is exploratory data analysis. Wait a minute. I think something is remaining. Number of variables. Yeah. Let's go for that. Yeah. Exploratory data analysis, the fourth step that we have to carry in the data science process. Exploratory data analysis. So we have to explore your data from all of the angles. Many angles are there, like we can have univariate data analysis, multivariate data analysis. We have to see this data completely. So basically what happens, if the data is not known to the data scientist or data analyst, that case, which model to define, which model to use will be a critical question for everyone, for the data scientist. So we have to explore your data in detail. For that purpose, exploratory data analysis is required. Let's see this one. We are going to now make use of the data exploration process. Here data exploration is there. Under that we have simple graphs, combined graphs, link and brush technique, and non-graphical techniques that we can use it here. Okay, this is what the exploratory data analysis steps are there. So information becomes much easier to grasp when shown in a picture. We can see the tendency in that data, what data is actually carrying, what information that it is having. If you see, if you summarize that in the form of a picture, we can see whether it's incrementing, decrementing, or constant, or unique variations are there inside it, or outliers are, that's also one of the exploit data analysis process there. So all that thing we can form in the form of the picture. So we have to analyze the data, so we have to summarize that data first. That's part of exploratory data analysis. So therefore you mainly use graphical technique to gain understanding of your data and interaction between variables. Let's say, for example, example of linear regression. Linear regression means when two variables are there, if you draw them, the relationship, it will be like line that you can see. Now that line will show you the relationship is linear, but how do we know it? Looking at data is not possible to view. So we have to draw it, we visualize it. There you can see, this line can be possible. So now I can apply linear regression method onto it easily. That is what advantage of exploratory data analysis. This phase is about exploring the data. So keeping your mind open, your eyes peeled is essential during the exploratory data analysis phase. Yes. To understand it, data understanding is actually done in this particular phase. So the goal is to cleanse the data. It's not actually to clean the data. Cleaning is already done. But it's very common that you still discover anomalies you missed before. Yes. You can discover the anomalies that you missed before, forcing you to take a step back and fix them. Okay. Forcing you to take a step back and fix that particular steps. That will be provided by exploratory data analysis here. Just like the steps which are present under the exploratory data analysis are presented here. Let's talk about it one by one. See the graphs. Different graphs we can choose to work on that. We'll have the bar chart, so we can see visualization of all. When the sale against the year, we can see how it is varying. You can check it out. Or we can use a line plot, something like this. Line graph is there. Or we having a KDE plot, this one. Kernel density estimation plot. That also one of the way. So for exploratory data analysis, different kind of the graphs, different kind of the charts are chosen. So how data is distributed, how data is present, that we can find with this particular technique. Let's see which techniques are there for exploratory data analysis. The first technique is brushing and linking. Brushing and linking, we combine and link different graphs and table or views, so changes in the graph are automatically transferred to the other graph. That's called as brushing. Brushing is cleaning, linking, combining. That we can do. See this. A simple example of multiple variables are shown over here. What are that? You can check the names. Q28.2 against Q28.1, Q28.2 against Q28.3, Q28.2 against 4, Q28.2 against 5. Now you observe it and check which is the most linked variable to Q2, Q28.2. If you see this graph, we can check that as variable Q2 increases, Q28.1 is also increasing here, but not exactly linear. This case scatter, but this case they are linear. Check it out. Almost, it's also linear, but it contains some errors. Here also no errors are there. You can say as Q2 increases, Q3 also increases along with it. It means that now the Q28.3 depends upon Q28.2 variables. Depends on that. Linearly dependence is there. Can find. So in a single picture, I have combined all, and then I have seen, I'm watching the linear relationship between these variables. On which variable that Q28.2 number variable is dependent. How to find? So this is a method that we can do. Exploring the data. I don't know what this red dot contains. Okay, I am knowing a feature only. One feature on X side, one feature on Y side. But the relationship that we can visualize by this method, and accordingly we'll decide which kind of relationship they have, linear or non-linear. So here relationship may be possible, but it is non-linear. This case it is linear. This case also it is linear, but contains some distortion in the data set relationship presented there. Okay, now check it out. Here, link and brush allows to select observation in one plot and highlight the same observation in other plots also. See, in first plot, okay, against 1, I'm having this connectivity present here. Then here the connectivity is something like this. Here In this plot, connectivity is something like this. So here these points are very near, very close. Okay, in one point. In two, they are not close. In three, again, they are not much close. The closest distance, the smallest distance between these 2 points is present over here. That's why you can compare, you can identify. So it depends upon the data that you use, depend upon the model that you have to create. This brushing and linking techniques will be perfectly applied. Okay, in that we have a technique called as the line graph, we have a technique called as the bar chart, we have a technique called as the scatter plots. So this technique can be used, and with the help of that, what data exactly carried, that we can identify. Clustering techniques are there, classification techniques, regression techniques are there. In all of these techniques of data mining and machine learning, we will make use of this graph so much effectively. Now let's see, the second way of exploit data analysis is histogram. We have seen that histogram in last session also. The histogram is a variable. In histogram, variable is cut into discrete categories, and the number of occurrences in each graph in categories, sum and frequency count within a specific category will be shown by the histogram. Okay. The box plot is also one of the method which we can use. It doesn't show how many observations are present, but it does offer an impression of distribution within the categories. It shows minimum, maximum, median values present in it. Let's talk about the histogram first. See this. This is a histogram. You can see distribution of the data within specific range or just a minute. I'll start it. It was disconnected accidentally. Yeah, let's see. So here we have a box plot. So how exploration of the data can be done here? Let's say we have three categories of users who has given the appreciation score or appreciation score to your teacher. Ratings are given to them. Rating are given. Category number 1, category number 2, category number 3. Different kind of users, different students are given that appreciation score. And if you combine all together, I will have something like this. User category number 1 have given appreciation score from -2 to minus something 2.5 till this. That's the range of user 1. User 2 has given almost from here -1 to 3. And user 3 category have given the score from 1 to 4. You can compare them. What mentality user 1 is having, what mentality user 2 are having, what mentality user 3 are having. They're completely different. Their score, their ranges are set by this. And even the box plot shows a few more things. Like here, the box shows the maximum number of elements are lying within this category. Actually, there's a concept called as quartile. First quartile, second quartile, third quartile. So this is your first quartile, this is second quartile, this is third quartile values. First, second quartile means 20. If you sort all the values and 25% elements center, then all elements center, and last 75 is 25% elements center. Okay, center, median of it. These are shown over here. by these particular boxes. Okay, box plot. So in visualization topic, we will see this again. How do we use the visualization plot, box plot so much commonly? We're perfectly here. This is the center, median of all. Median. So user 1 has given rating 0, appreciation score. As a median, user 2 has given 1 score and user 3 has given 2 score. Check. Compare according to category. Categorical variable against the continuous variable. That we can do with the help of a box plot, and even it shows the outliers also. You can check it. Here the outliers are there. These are the outliers. Okay, that's present. So outliers we can see, and accordingly we can check the result. See the data set that we are using here. Like for example, this data I am having. Okay, DF. So here we have categorical variable like class and marks. Now, for example, if I want to create this, let's see if it is possible. To show this box plot for them, we'll have the class on the x-axis, df class, and df of marks on y-axis. Df dot class, just a minute. Because box plot is present in data frame, I need to use it here. It's not using it. Just a minute. Let's use this syntax. No, maybe it's not possible for this. We'll check it out. We'll go for visualization. That time I'll show you. So this is how we can have categorical variable against the continuous variable, and data can be explored by this method, the second method that we can use. Okay, so this is how the data exploration is possible. We can use visualization method. With the help of that, this is possible to work, and even non-graphical techniques are also there, which is not shown here. Non-graphical techniques means there are some statistical method that we can work to see the data. Basically, non-graphical technique, which are that. See, for example, df dot, if I use this method, describe. See, sorry, describe, description, like how many count values are there, how many elements are there in it, what is the mean of all. You can see what's the mean of all, marks mean, ages mean, then what is the standard deviation of all. Okay, what is the standard deviation, then what is minimum value of all, what's the 25% first quartile value, second quartile value, third quartile value, what's the maximum value present in it. Like all that thing we can summarize by non-graphical method. What structure that it carries. For example, there is one more method called as str. Sorry. Just a minute. Sorry, str is in R. Sorry. Okay, see this. So df.info, info method, which is just like str in R programming. So you can see the column names, what data type that they have. This also. How many elements are there? Float 1, integers 2, object 2, 1. How much memory it has taken? How many entries are there? What's the name that we carry? So this is a non-graphical method that we can choose. So summary of whole data can be seen by this kind of the methods here, and we can explore your data in more detail. Yes, what pattern it carries, what kind of things are present in the data, that we can do with the help of the exploratory data analysis techniques. Okay, so there are many ways that we can choose. We can have univariate analysis, we can have multivariate analysis also. Univariate means histogram is univariate and box plot is multivariate, because histogram take only one input, box plot takes multiple inputs present there. So we can have multiple inputs given to the data, and that's called a multivariate analysis. This is called a data exploration phase that we can apply on the given data, and accordingly we can define which model is suitable or useful for that. Just an example, like when using link and brush techniques, there we have seen there's a linear connectivity present between two variables. We can apply the linear regression model now. Linear regression model, with the help of that, a perfect modeling of line between x and y can be created. That's called as a data exploration that we use. Now let's go for data modeling. So under data modeling, again 3 sub parts are present. First, model and variable selection. Second, model execution. Third, model diagnostic and model comparison. So let's see what exactly the model building means. So with the clean data in place and good understanding of content, you're ready to build the models. So we have retrieved the data, we have prepared the data, then we have performed transformation on the data, then we have explored the data exactly, and now we are ready to build a model. Why data model is required? Data modeling may be required to check what classes are present, what similarities are there, what predictive abilities are given to that. We'll talk about that. Two different analytics are possible on data. That are called as predictive analytics and descriptive analytics. That also we can do. But with the clean data and good understanding of content, you are ready to build models with the goal of making better predictions, classifying objects, and or gaining understanding of system that you are modeling. Yes, predictions can be done. I want to predict something with the help of the previous data results. I want to classify the object. So we'll be making use of some techniques, some statistical techniques onto it, and then a model building can be possible. So this phase is much more focused than exploratory data analysis process, because you know what you're looking for and what you want the outcome to be, output, what you want, that we are defining into the model building. It's an iterative process. The way that you build a model depends on whether you go with classical statistics or somewhat more relevant machine learning school. Here we define your technique. We can create a statistical modeling also, statistical model, but it is going to understand that formula clearly. Like linear regression. Linear regression is a statistical model. Or we can apply machine learning model also. Machine learning model also requires a data. After this topic, we'll having a technique of machine learning. We'll see in detail what is machine learning and go with that model building also. The type of technique that you want to use. So which technique will be suitable for my data so that I can do the predictive analytics of it. Let's say, take the example of the salary and experience of the person. So they are connected together. I will build a statistical model of linear regression onto it. Okay, statistical model of linear regression. And what's the application of it? For example, I have given year experience for 30 number of times. And I want to predict how much salary I will get after 15 years if the trend is like that, or how much salary I will get after 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. I can find it because linear connectivity is a linear model, linear statistical model is created, and with the help of that you are doing predictions on that particular data. Fine. So either way, the most model consists of the following main steps. 3 steps are there that we have to follow to create or to build the model on the data. Selection of modeling technique and variables to enter in the model. Selection of modeling technique and variables to enter in the model. So which modeling technique you have to select and which variable you have to use to select it. Okay, to enter inside the model, sorry. Which variables means out of 10 columns, which columns are useful, which are not. This is called as the feature selection. That technique is also very important. When the feature selection is done clearly, then only a perfect model building is possible. Okay, so and second is execution of model, and third is diagnosis and model comparison. We created the model, but how effective is that? How effective is that? Effectiveness of that model will be identified, and once the effectiveness is identified, then only we are going to use that model for predictive analytics, predictions of that data. Remember, the previous data we'll be using, building a model, and then doing the predictions. Predictions and the let's say descriptive modeling. These two things are possible with the help of the model building on the data here. So you'll need to select a variable that you want to include in a model and a modeling technique. Okay, select the variables and create the modeling technique. So you find from exploratory analysis should already give a fair idea of what variables will help you to construct a good model. Many modeling techniques are available, and choosing the right model for problem requires judgment on your part. This is a part of practice actually. We need to use different kind of the data, apply the model, and after that we can use this model perfectly in your system. So practice is required, and we need to understand the data modeling first, which data mining techniques are available, which machine learning techniques are available. Based on that, we define the model created and we generate the results accordingly. So after building a model, you need to consider the model performance and whether your project meet the requirement to use your model, as well as the factors also. So the model must be moved to production environment, and if so, it could be easy to implement. Okay, you have created the model, data modeling. Can I implement it? Now, what's the application? For example, I'm having the sales data for my previous years for my company, sales data of previous years for my company. And using that data, I want to predict the future sale. Yes, obviously possible. Previous data we can use, and you can do the prediction of further data. So model will be perfectly created. Time series model is there that we have to create. The data according to time should be fitted inside this model, and then it will proceed further to build that particular model there. Okay, then we can deploy that. Your company can use it, and it will be useful for company to find the future production. Like if you have heard about the campus placement, maybe you know in campus placement, students will get placed in the college campus itself when they are studying in final year, and they are having a joining later after 1 year. How companies already knowing that they are requiring employees after 10 years, 1 year, sorry. Or they're knowing they're having a model build, they are knowing their progress previously, and based on that they know that in next year how many number of employees are required. They're using that data model, and with the help of that, predictive analytics is possible. That's why building is important, and deployment, where you deploy that, this is what they have done. How difficult is maintain the model, and how long it will remain relevant if left untouched? That's also one of the question. Does the model to be easy to explain? Not always actually. A question's answer is something trivial, tricky. So we cannot say it's completely easy to explain or difficult to explain. Now model execution. So how do we execute the model? Luckily, most programming languages such as Python already have libraries such as stat models or scikit-learn. These packages uses several most popular techniques. Coding a model is non-trivial task in most cases. So having these libraries available can speed up the processes. Obviously, we don't need to write the program from scratch. Models are already present. We just have to identify this data is suitable for this kind of the model. Once you come to know about it, then we can easily apply that model and generate the result from that. As you can see, I'll show the code. They're created by the linear regression with stat models of scikit-learn. Doing this yourself will require much effort, even for the simple techniques also. Let's see this one. I want to build a model on this particular data. Okay, so data is like X is the predictor variable we call input variable, and Y is the output variable, which is called a target variable. Input output. So let's say salary is the input variable and your experience is the output variable. Okay, that we are having model. Okay, created. Now see the coding. That's what it's done in Python here. I'll show the coding also. It's not that much difficult to understand and use it here. Linear prediction model is created, and on some random data generated that we can see is available here. And after we are evaluating it, wait a minute, I'll show this technique, how it is done. Simple example, I'll just show you how to work with that. Okay. Yeah. See, for example, I'm having a data with me. It's a salary information. This. How model building will help us to do the predictive analytics, that with example we'll see. See this. I'm having a CSV file with me, like years of experience and salary. So basically, if you consider about the R or you're considering about Python, in both languages it is possible to build a model of regression. So you can observe that years experience increasing, salary also increasing there. Proportionality is not there, but they are increasing. That you can say. Check this. So salary of person above 7.9 years experience having 1 lakh, and then again it's going above. Almost, but not exactly linear there. So I want to build the model for this particular data set, which is present here. So libraries in Python and R will facilitate me. Within 4-5 lines, we can do this. Let's see. For example, I'll read this data first, and then we'll focus on how model building is helping us to do the predictive analytics. Predictive analytics, how it is possible there. Okay, so I'll show you first in Python, and then we'll go for the R programming language. So let's see, for example, read CSV, and I'm having salary.csv here. So I've read that. Sorry. This is R. So to make sure, df is equal to read pd.read underscore csv. I have read that salary.csv, and in that you can see in this data set I'm having 2 columns present, which are that years experience and the salary. So let's say I will keep one variable as input, another variable as output. So what is your input variable in that case? Let's say years experience. Obviously, salary cannot be input. Years experience is input, and salary is a dependent variable. It is the output variable present over here. So, for example, in X variable, I'll take the years experience. Okay, like this. Years experience, yeah, and in Y variable I'll take the salary, like this. Okay, done. So X and Y are separated. Now I want to build the model of the statistical model of linear regression. Okay, so all the programming languages contain the libraries to work on that. Linear regression libraries present in Python. It is called a linear regression, and in R it's called a linear model. Terminologies are common. Linear model, linear regression, they are same. Remember, there's only different names that they have given over here. Okay, so X and Y I have separated. Now I want to build the model of regression over here. Basically, I need to transform that data. I will transform this data. I need that data in array format. That's why I need to convert it in array format. It's like X. So this is the array experience that you have taken. So I'm converting in array format. This values is done, and then we're converting. Okay. Array format, and then after I'll show the Y. This is the output variable. Okay. Salary is input, and Y is the output variable that we have set. X and Y are separated. Now I want to build the model of so for example, there's a package which I mentioned over here, okay, which are that scikit-learn. So 2 models are there. Stat models, which is used over here in this example. Stat models are used, and I'll be showing scikit-learn model, which is used here from scikit-learn dot linear model. Okay, let's import. Linear regression is the name of class actually, which is used to build the model. Let's see how easy is that. If I want to build a linear relationship between X and Y, so I can import that linear regression class here. I imported it. So let's create the object of it. Object is created. And now let's apply the data to that particular model. X is input, Y is the output. So for that purpose, let's use the fit method. X comma Y, fitted. Okay, so it's fitted now. Model is created, data model is created, and now this model I can use to do the predictions. How? Let's see. So for example, in the data set, if you see, I'm having the ES experience salary EX experience is the input, salary is the output. Till only 10 years, 10.5 years only this salary is given. Experience and salaries are given. But I want to predict. Now see, you can check 10.5, and here 1,21,000 is the salary for the person who is having 10.5 years experience. Okay, fine. But I want to predict the salary of the person who is having 15 years experience. let's say 12-year experience first. It will be somewhat close. 1,21,000. Linear regression means that it's a line. Now I can use this line to predict
Sir, your
the
screen
data.
is not visible.
Just a minute. It's disconnected. Yeah, it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, so I have imported this class linear regression from the particular package sklearn.linear model. Then I've created the object of it. Now the consider class is an object in Python. That's how created. This is the object. And then now I have applied the x and y. X is the input variable, which is we call as the independent variable. Y is the output variable, which is a dependent variable. Okay, so we applied it. We have built the data model of regression modeling there, created and allows to the predictions. Predict, for example, I want to predict the salary of the person with the 12 years. See, salary will be 1,39,000 with 12 years because model is linear. We'll go further. Check this. For example, I want 15 years. 1,67,000 for 15 years. Let's go for 20. 2,14,000. And if you want to check for 1 year, 35,559. Okay, I want to check for 0.5 year, that is 6 months. 30,853. That's it. That's we can predict. Line or linear regression statistical model we have created. Okay, this is coming under machine learning also. But model is created and then we can do the predictive analytics on that particular modeling. That's how it is possible. Even we can visualize this data also, whether linearly they are connected or not. Let's see, for example, plot will say plt dot scatter plot will, let's say, x dot y and show. See this. You can check. They are linearly connected. Here we have experience and this is we have salary. Okay. And you can see they are linearly connected. Okay. They are exactly not linear, but we can identify. Even characterization of the model is also possible. Once you have created the model, then you can see how effective is that. Data is not 100% correct, but how effective is that we can find. For example, I can make use of a function. It depends on every different kind of modeling, which function you use. So how accurate is that? 96.25% accuracy. We have 3.75% error in that. This is called a residual error. Okay, it is accurate, but accuracy is 96.25%. The data is not perfectly linear, but not exact 100% linear. We can do the prediction, but it will contain the error of 3.75%. So to know this error, there are many measures used. See, I'll just the presentation that I mentioned, but in upcoming session we'll talk in detail about it. This is just an overview that we have taken. See, okay, let's say this one also, how model is actually created. So original data, like having plt dot, we have scatter and plt dot plot, original data and predicted data according to the formula. So let's see this one, predict on x, change the color, right. This, yeah, this one. A line created. Predicted line is red color and blue dot the original value. So predicted line is your model follows strict criteria and red line, but blue are the human collected values. The distance from the center of the line is called as the residual error. Error is there. This error reduction is done by some many methods present in data analytics, data science, machine learning, so that we can perfect model building is possible and we can do the predictive analytics on this particular kind of the data. Okay, this is how the model execution is done. We can see the result in that particular format. And evaluation, this is very important to know. Model is created, but how do we evaluate it? So many methods are there. For statistical methods like linear regression or regression method, many methods, you can check it out. Many things are mentioned here. The values of R square, error, adjusted R square error, or there is one few more method called as, okay, for this case I'll show you. See, first thing is that how accurate is that we have seen. This one. 96.25%, the accuracy score of this particular data on the given model is this one. Just like that, many more methods are there. They are called as mean squared error, mean absolute error, R2 score, that we can use. So statistical methods are there that should be applied to evaluate the performance of this particular model. This is one of them. There is one more method is there. Wait a minute. So it's called as mean absolute error. Yeah, mean absolute error. Predicted, okay, original value against the predicted values. See, what error is that? 4110. I mean, this is the average error that we can have for salary. For every salary, actual value and predicted value by algorithms are having on average 4,000 difference. On average, 4,000 difference is there between original value and the predicted value by algorithms by your linear regression function. It means that whatever you're predicting will be having 4,000 plus minus 4,000. But remember, 4,000 is there, but if you compare in 1 lakh, it is 4% only. That we can say. So many such techniques are present. Mean errors we can identify, different scores we can calculate. In data science, these are statistical, very theoretical techniques are used to characterize or evaluate the performance of the data model, data mining technique, data analytics techniques, even machine learning techniques also. So these are one of these few examples shown only. In upcoming session, we'll talk more detail about the technique that we are having. So this is linear regressions example. Okay, and if you are going to check this, it's just shown by using the, sorry, Python. R, actually 3 lines are there. Within 3 lines we can do it. See, for example, I'll read this data here. This is R programming terminal. Okay, data we got. Then I'll separate X and Y is equal to df dollar ES experience, and Y is equal to df dollar salary. Okay, X and Y are separated. Now let's build the model. Model is equal to LM Y, sorry, and X. Yeah, model is created. This is model created. Its intercept and the coefficient and intercept are calculated here. That's we got. So this is how the model. LM is a function which is used in R to create this same model. Linear regression model I'm creating here using LM function here. And to do the prediction, just a minute. Just we have to create it. New value. I want to do the predictions on that particular data. So predict model and new value. What's the years experience? Okay, years experience is equal to 12. I think something is missing. Yes. Experience is equal to 12. Yeah, it's created. Oh, 29, 27, 25. Where is that? Something is missing, I think. Okay, let me show you that one when you actually do the practical analysis of it, because I don't use R much. So this is the same way that we follow here in the Python, how to build the model and generate the results. So many techniques are preferred that we can use to perform operations with. Okay, so this is what evaluation measures are there that we can apply or use to build the model, or after building the model also we can check out these particular results here. So many things are possible, like model fit, which is used in R squared error. Adjusted R squared error is there. It's a measure of indication of amount of variation in the data that's captured by the model. Or we'll be having some predictor variables, which is having a coefficient. For linear model, it's easy to interpret. That we can, you might be knowing the equation called y is equal to mx plus c. So what is the value of m? What's the value of c? That's what we are having the coefficient generated out of it. Okay, so significance of that predictor will be also characterized by the coefficient. So depending upon different modeling, the evaluation is different. Make sure for different modeling, evaluation is different. Some models we use probability based, their evaluation different. Some models we use distance based, Euclidean distance based, their evaluation different. Some models are linear models, just like linear regression, their evaluation different. So different evaluation methods are used. Let's see one more example. You can check it out. This is the K nearest neighbor model, KNN model we call in short. So in K nearest neighbor model, see, it is a classification model actually. Classification means the output variable which is expected is in the class. It's in the class. Okay, it is in the class. When I have a data, input variables many are there, and output variable we have only classes 0 and 1. Yes or no. It's called as a class. So classification model is KNN, and you can just check it out here. How it is working? It is used to check the nearest element. Model contains the Euclidean distance methods are used, and with the help of that, nearest element are checked by that model. Like for example, it's using this circle. So how many nearest element is there? One nearest element I am identifying, that is minus. Here if you circle is bigger, so two nearest element are there, but plus is minus. Two classes are present. Okay, and I want to predict the class of this particular x. Okay, if the x is present, then what is the class of x, whether it is plus or minus? So I will check the nearest neighbor for that. So first, if you are checking one nearest neighbor, it is minus. If you are checking two nearest neighbor, it is plus and minus. But if you check three nearest neighbor, it is plus, two plus, and one minus is there. So the class of this x will be plus, because two elements are there in x. For this case it is minus. For this case it is 50-50. For this case it is plus, class predicted. So we need to understand the K nearest neighbor model completely. Then only we are going to perform the operations, and the evaluation of this model given here. K neighbors classifier is used here. With the help of K neighbors classifier, we can do the predictions on the given data and perform the operation. There is one evaluation method called as confusion matrix. Confusion matrix is the method which are used by the classification algorithm to check the classes, or to check the accuracy of level of implementation of the respective algorithm on it. So many things are present here over here. We'll talk in detail when you see the things practically, and when you actually check the concept of machine learning practically. So maybe it's not there in your syllabus, but just to remember, evaluation of the data can be done by different modeling. So for classification modeling, we use the confusion matrix. For regression kind of modeling, if it is done, then we are using that score functions. We are using adjusted R square, or we are using root mean square, or mean squared error, mean absolute error. Many such techniques are present. Statistical techniques are there, which are present in our syllabus also. That also we will talk in the upcoming session. So this is how the common idea of evaluations are there. Then the last sub stage present here is model diagnostic and the comparison. Model diagnostic, diagnosis the model and compare that. So we will be building multiple models from which you are choose the best one on multiple criterias. To do the predictive analytics or to do the descriptive analytics, different machine learning models are present, different data mining models are present. Remember, every model will work on all kind of the data. It's okay. All model will work on all kind of the data there. But which model to choose to perform the operation, that is the important criteria that we have to compare with. So working with holdout sample, we'll choose the pick, you'll pick best performing model out of it. The best performing model two point of views are mentioned. First point is the time required to build the model, and second, accuracy of that model. Time required to build. Time required is 1 second and accuracy is 90%. And time required is 100 millisecond, accuracy 98%. Which one to choose? So that depends upon your criteria of what we are choosing. A holdout sample is a part of data you leave out for model building, so it can be used to evaluate the model afterwards. The principle here is too simple that the model will work on unseen data. So you only fraction of your data and estimate the model or the part of holdout sample will be taken. This is called as the train test split actually. How do you split your data, and then we'll work on that. Like for example, let's say how to evaluate the model. So when you build the linear regression model, what we will do, I will use only these entries to build it. For example, 75%, 22 entries I will use to create the model. And then I want to check that whether it is working correctly or not. So I will use the remaining value, hold out values. This will not be used for building model. This will be used to check model is working correctly or not. Now, once the model is created by these 22 entries, then I will use remaining 8 entries the input and check this as the output. Whether the model is generating these as the output or not. Holdout entries will be used. So this is called as cross validation in data science. Cross validation techniques are used to validate the model and to check whether the model is performing correctly or not. So diagnosis of model and evaluation of model is very important. By this method we generally try it. In regression modeling also this technique is applied, but regression modeling means absolute errors are used to do the same. And in classification modeling, this is done with the help of the confusion matrix. So confusion matrix is the way by which you create the classification modeling, and then we'll work accordingly to perform the predictive analytics on the given data set. Same is done for the descriptive analytics also. This is very big and wide concepts of data science are applied for evaluation of this particular modeling. We'll see the things practically also. This is how we can do. So we can recalculate the error. So this is what we have, unseen data. Principle is too simple that model should work on unseen data, the data which is not used in the training, which we'll use for testing. Test and check the correct result is generated out of it or not. This is what we call as the cross validation. See this one. This is how it is done. So we are having a data set with us, like this number of entries. Okay, 80% data will use to train the algorithm. Okay, will apply to build the model, and remaining 20% we will apply. This is unseen data. Model is not knowing that. We'll apply it and check whether it is working correctly or not. So diagnosis of the data modeling is done by this particular method of using cross-validation technique. So many cross-validation techniques are present. Out of it, first method is this: train and test split. Train, test, split. Second method that we use is called as stratified k-fold. K-fold splits are there. Means you create 20, 20, 20, 20 splits, and then working on first, second, third, fourth. It's exactly like same accuracy there or not will be identified. Stratified k-fold is there. Many different techniques. LOCV technique is also there. Leave one out, cross validation. So many such techniques are present that are used to evaluate the model. So after evaluation of model, we'll decide which one to choose. So in linear regression itself, linear modeling itself, there are many models are present. Like the system which you have shown in the presentation is different, and program that I have shown that is different. Here it is showing OLS system, ordinary least square regression, and the technique which I have used was linear regression. The techniques are different, but maybe accuracy differences will be there. Which is more accurate, that model will be chosen to perform the operations of model building. Okay, when the model is created, then we'll use it to perform the further operations of deployment of that model perfectly. Yeah, come with the last step: presentation and the automation. Yeah, so after you successfully analyze the data, build a well-performing model, you're ready to present your finding in the world, to the world. Finding what you have found inside that data and how much is perfect. That's we are going to have representation in automation systems. This is an exciting part. All of your hard work, hours of hard work have paid off, and you explain what you found to the stakeholders. You can say why it is happening, and even you can automate it. See, two things are: the presentation is the part of data mining. And automation is a part of machine learning. Presentation, like we are, what you extracted, what you got, the knowledge you mined from the data, again for multiple number of times. This is called as the automation system, which is applied by machine learning techniques, presentation and automation. Let's see the last. So two things are then for the automation. We are presenting the data and we are automating the data analysis phase here in this last process, presentations. Sometimes people get so excited about your work that you need to repeat over it again. So it over and over again, because the value predictions of model or insight that you produced, for reason you need to automate your model. So you present what you extracted, what after building a model, after performing all of the operation, you have came across some conclusion. That conclusion is very important. Just example of COVID-19. What is spread? Why the reason behind it? Can I do a data analysis? Yes. Can I give some measures by which this spread can be reduced? Can I do that one? That's what possible is presented here. So that we can present. This doesn't mean that you have to redo all of your analysis all the time. Sometimes it's sufficient that you implement only the model scoring. Other times you might build application that automatically update reports, Excel spreadsheet or PowerPoint presentation. Automatically it should be done. Auto adjustment should be done. Like many number of time, a mail is reported as a spam mail. Next time similar kind of mail is received, it should automatically get reported as a spam by your algorithm, by your data mining or machine learning algorithm here. This is what automations are. Many, everywhere, any data that you use it, you build a model, you automate it. Next time such kind of data comes, so algorithm will tell you what is that automation. Okay, so last stage of data science process is where your soft skills will be the most useful, and yes, they are extremely important. Remember, presentation and the application system that we have created, we have built, and we will be using that further with the given data ahead again. And in summary, whatever we have learned in the data science process, that I have summarized over here, all the things are summarized, and let's see 6 steps that we have studied and what are the applications of it in summary fashion. First of all, we have set up the research goal. We have defined what, why, and how your project is there in the project charter. So what we have got the applications, we got the different questions and their output, their answers also in that. Second, we have identified the sources of the data, that is retrieve the data. Find and getting access to data needed in your project. Data is either found within a company or retrieved from the third party organization. So maybe open source data set that we have talked about, or some data set from where we can purchase it. That's also one of the way that we can retrieve the data. Third step is the data preparation. Check and remediate the data errors, enrich data with data from all the data sources, and transform it into suitable format for your model. Data transformations are presented. That's a very large preparation that we have seen yesterday and today also. Then the data exploration, that's what we call it exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis, diving deeper into data using descriptive statistics and visual techniques. Okay, we are making use of histogram, box plots, or some statistical function. With the help of that, we can explore your data. Then we are having a data modeling. With the help of machine learning and statistical technique, we can achieve your project goal to build the model and generate a perfect model out of it. Fine. And then last, we have presentation automation, presenting your results to the stakeholder and industrializing your analysis process for repetitive reuse and integration with the other tools. Okay, that's what is data science process. Very long and large process is there. In the first practical, tomorrow I will show you how to do this particular operation of data pre-processing. All they are there. In data pre-processing, actually 3 tasks are there: retrieving data, preparation, exploration. Modeling is, data modeling is different, not a pre-processing task. We'll check it out. I will try to get many number of process as possible, and then we'll do practically with this. Okay, so till this, if you have any doubts or questions, so you just can ask, or we will continue further. If any doubts or questions, if you're having, so you just can ask.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah, continue.
is there any scope of data cleansing while we are exploring the data? You know, if we detect any unnecessary anomalies in the data structure, database,
Okay. Can you repeat the question? I didn't get it.
is there any scope of data cleansing while we are exploring the data? If we detect any unnecessary anomalies in the database,
Data cleaning, it can be done. Means while retrieving data, you're talking about, correct?
while exploring the data.
While exploring, maybe it will be there. While exploring data, also maybe some anomalies are present. There also you can apply some statistical methods by which you can remove that anomalies from there. While exploring, also it may be possible. But remember one thing: if you are using histogram to check the anomalies in first page, maybe if after using histogram, maybe that is not present, outliers may not be present in that case. But in explored data analysis also, the data preparation is possible, that we can try, that we can do. Okay, just a minute. One last point is remaining. Yeah, relation with machine learning. What do you mean by machine learning, and how data science is related with machine learning? Okay, that's what you're going to see. Okay, so so what is machine learning? Terminology I have used in the model building also, and or when we have seen introductory section, that time also we have talked about the concept of machine learning for multiple number of times. So let's have the overview of it: how, why, when, and what machine learning is, step by step. Okay, so two objectives are there from the first unit. So this will finish the unit number 1 after the machine learning technique is over. Machine learning definition and relation with data science. Okay, so two things are there that we have to work. Definition is given only, but we have to think from the types point of view also. What are the different ways that we are having in machine learning? That also we'll talk. Okay, so what is machine learning? Machine learning is an application of AI, artificial intelligence, that provides systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. Without being explicitly programmed. So algorithm will learn by itself, automatically learn by itself, will get the experience, and without programming it will learn. So basically, see, the idea is something like we are human being. We learn from experience. We learn from the previous data set. The data that we are already having with us, with that data we extract the information and we learn, we gain experience by example, by observation, by experience, like. And after getting experience for multiple number of time, our decision making system will become strong. We will decide on that situation so much easily, perfectly, by keeping cool mind, because we have observed that already. We know that already. We get the experience there. Same thing will apply to the computer algorithms. Computer algorithms will be providing our data set, our experience, our observations, our examples, instructions. Algorithm will learn from that. Okay. Will learn means it will build a model, data model within machine learning technique. And once model is created, then it will automatically perform operation of taking a decision out of it. The machine learning focuses on development of computer programs that can access data and use it, learn from themselves. So they are having self-learning ability with them. Self-learning. That's what we call as machine learning. Machine means computer. Learning. So it's not training, it's learning. They are learning the things. They learn it. They learn from original experience, and they will get trained with that data, and after that they will use this information to perform further operations with it. Okay. The process of learning begins with observations or data such as example, experience, instruction, in order to look for patterns in the data and make better decisions in future based on the example that we provide. based on the examples that we provide. We provide them examples. And with the help of examples, we can perform further operation of creating the model and then do the predictive analytics onto it. This is what the machine learning is. So main aim of machine learning algorithm is to allow computers to learn automatically without human intervention or assistance and adjust the actions accordingly. One thing, human intervention is not there. They are automatically learning. Assistance is also not there. And actions will be different. The action that computer system has done today may be different tomorrow because the learning methodology is they're getting more and more experience. So experience will lead to change the decision. That's what machine learning is doing. Okay, remember. So how exactly it works? Origin of machine learning are we itself. We are having our algorithm empowered by the machine learning techniques. How do we learn? We learn from previous observation, previous experiences. So earlier databases recorded information from the observable environment. We are having already observable environment, and with that observable environment, we use your brain to check the pattern in that. Like astronomers recorded patterns of planets and stars. Biologists noted the result from the experiment, or we are having crossbreeding plant animals. Like not many things are there. Even cities recorded tax payment, disease outbreaks, populations. Everywhere we have some pattern. That's why the person we have seen many different situations, they will predict the things accurately because they're having good experience of it. That's why. Fine. So that patterns that will be identified. Let's say an example of the Halley's Comet. Do you know when the Halley's Comet is visible? This is what we have talked about. After 76 years, Halley's Comet can be seen in the space. How it knows that it's 76 years gap? Because the pattern of comet was recorded previously for multiple number of times. Okay, and that pattern is used to check the predictions. Now it was seen last time in 1986, before that 1910, and before that again 76 years ago it was seen. Now after 1986, comet can be seen after the gap of 76 years because it's a recording, and 76 is the gap of multi generations. But recording is done, and you got the pattern. There's synchronization present in the revolution of Earth or revolution of moon around Earth or around the sun also. So using that synchronism, it's possible to do the predictions with that. This is what we have machine learnings. Okay, so today we are now automating the things, recording systematic ever-growing computerized databases, and based on that, we are generating the results. That's what we call as the machine learning thing. So wait a minute, one video which I have shown last time also, maybe if I'll just show you again, we'll just get an insights about the machine learning, and then we'll continue with the applications of machine learning further. Just a minute. Just check this out.
The world marked a stride in artificial intelligence with Google's AlphaGo defeating the world's #1 ranked Go player, KG, in May 2017. A previous version of the same program has defeated Lee Sedol, the second-ranked world champion, in Go last year. Now, computers can communicate with humans, drive cars autonomously, give accurate predictions in stock prices, weather forecasts, medical diagnosis, predict crimes and terror suspects. Thanks to the new approach, machine learning. But how did it all get started? The term artificial intelligence has been with us for a long time. The early difference engine was capable of solving arithmetic operations, thus being a mechanical brain that could solve logical logical tasks. Although the meaning of artificial intelligence has changed nowadays to wider concepts of machine being capable of thinking and making decisions in more humanly ways. This became possible with the invention of transistors in 20th century. By then, we had the right hardware suitable for building machines that won't take up huge spaces and burn up with heat or require power needed to light up an entire city. A great man once theorized that any logical explanation or a rational thought can be converted into a computer program. Now that we had the tools for testing these ideas, along with the technological developments in the field of computer science, the initial concept of artificial intelligence developed in the 1950s. Expert systems were among the first truly successful forms of artificial intelligence software created in 1970s. An expert system is a computer system that imitates the decision-making ability of a human. They were designed to solve complex problems by reasoning about knowledge. They used huge databases of expert knowledge that some poor expert had to sit and write down. But the approach of teaching a computer to be intelligent didn't quite go well. Soon we felt the need of a better approach so that the computer program could learn by itself and improve on its own with time. But how? The answer to this question lied back in 1959 when an IBM engineer, Arthur Samuel, developed a computer program that could learn to play checkers and improve itself as it played in finding the best moves for a winning strategy. It was the birth of machine learning that, according to Arthur Samuel, gave computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. Using this technique of machine learning, a program learns the patterns and infers itself, which is way more cool. Obviously, much more similar to human intelligence. To understand how machine learning works, imagine teaching a baby to identify the differences between various objects. Like, for example, if you show him a cat, he will extract specific information that will help him identify a cat the next time he comes across one. But if he sees a dog for the first time the next day, he will call it a cat as well, because it has every other information that the baby extracted from the cat the other day. Now, on correcting him, baby's mind will extract some extra information from the dog to distinctly identify the dog from a cat. This process takes time and needs the baby to see different dogs and cats multiple number of times. This is what we call supervised learning. And this is how we learn to distinguish between this, and this. In machines, each information extracted from the image of an object is assigned with a weight, which is nothing but a factor that describes how distinctly a particular information defines that object. Like, for example, while distinguishing a dog from a cat, informations like 4 legs, 2 eyes, etc. will be assigned with lesser weights than the informations like barking or elongated nose, because these data differentiate dogs from cats more prominently. Such a learning is called supervised learning, in which the input and the outputs are given to the machine and it just figures out the distinct relationship between each output with its inputs. Now let's consider the following condition. It's your best friend's birthday and you want to buy him a pretty cool gift which he would remember for many years to come. Of course, you want it to be a surprise and want to keep it a secret. In this case, you wouldn't directly ask your friend what he wants. Instead, you would try and learn about his likes and dislikes, and then based on the trends you discovered in his perchance, you would decide an appropriate gift. Such a learning in which only the inputs are known to the machine and it figures out an algorithm based on the trends and then determines an output is known as unsupervised learning. Besides these traditional learning methods, there is one technique that gained popularity particularly in the recent decades. Deep learning makes use of artificial neural networks in a desire to simulate the functioning of human neurons to perform tasks in a more sentient manner. Sounds like an evil plan of Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, but in reality, this technology is changing and saving many lives. From medical or healthcare to business and entertainment, the marvels of machine learning are quite breathtaking, and yet there's a lot to conquer. Ever wondered how YouTube knows what you like to watch with such a great accuracy? Or how Google knows which links to display from millions of relatable websites when you type just 1 or 2 words? And even how Google Photos now lets you search your own images by description, even if they aren't tagged. And Siri and Alexa have become smarter than ever. Today, in the world of automation, machine learning has become a primitive factor in technological advancement. With every passing day, our machines are getting smarter and better, and that day is not far away when technology would allow our robotic counterparts to have the ability of free will and even surpass us humans. And when that day arrives, don't forget, machine learning formed the basis of this evolution.
Okay, so this is how the machine learning is. Different ways are chosen, different ways are there by which we can use the machine learning. We'll talk about that because for model building, actually in data science, we need to remember it. We're having separate subject, I think, upcoming semester, but we are having some introduction to machine learning from the practical point of view. So it should be remembered. We have to see why machine learning is important from data science point of view. That is very important to know. This triangle will show you the first insight of data science and machine learning's connections. Now, machine learning, as I've explained in previous topic also, it's a field of study interested in the development of computer algorithm for transforming data into action. Data into action. We use automated systems, and automated systems are having action generated, and that's done with the help of the machine learning techniques here. This is the triangle. This is a golden triangle of machine learning, where three things are present in machine learning: available data, statistical methods, and computing power. So on available data, as we can see, definition of machine learning is like previous data is important here. Previous data, previous experience, previous examples we use. So that examples, observations, previous data is in the form of a data set that we are giving a data as input. That's what we call available data. This one, available data. On this available data, you apply the statistical methods. Why? To build a data model, predictive model or descriptive model that we use. Predictive or descriptive, any kind of model will be possible as per the requirement of the user. Statistical methods are applied. We are going to see detailing about the data. All application that we require in the data analytics, data science, data mining are present in available data. Data is very important. As we have seen in first topic, first day itself, I told about the same, that data is now stolen. Data is getting stolen. Data is sold. Data can be purchased. And that's why it's because it's an active element in the automation system today. And there we apply statistical methods with the help of computing power. Computing power we see from different angles. Computing power can be seen from the angle of the programming language and from the software and from the hardware. We are using that. Computing power, we require a standard programming language like Python or R. With the help of that, we can use statistical method to build the data model. And when the data model is built, then we can automate the systems. So three things which are present in the machine learning: data is compulsory, static model compulsory, computing power is compulsory. So if any one of that angle is missing, machine learning will collapse. So to build a perfect machine learning model is required. So first phase is to have available data, and data availability of the data is also very important. Whatever steps that we have seen, all they are present into the data analytics with processing operations present here. So we are going to retrieve data from somewhere, then we are preparing data, then we are transforming data, then we are exploring data, and then finally we are building the model of machine learning on that respective data. That's why data science is required in machine learning. Data mining, we have already talked again. Data mining is just like converting raw data into information format. We extract useful data, that is called as information. This concept we call it data mining. Okay, so getting novel insight from that data set is called as data mining. Although there is some disagreement over how widely is two-step overlap, the potential point of distinction is that machine learning tend to be focused on performing known tasks, performing the task, already defined task we are performing, but decision is made on the currently available data. Okay, whereas data mining is about searching hidden nuggets of information. Make sure that many algorithms of data mining and machine learning are common, but their objective is different. Data mining only extract information, but machine learning perform that action, predictive analytics on that. Remember, okay, that's what is done. check out the example that we are having here in machine learning. How can I do predictive analytics? Like predicting the outcome of elections. Can we do it? See this one. This is one of the news published in Sakal newspaper, Pune. And on last election in May 2020, this was released just before the election results are out. Okay. They have used random forest model actually. You can learn about random forest model in machine learning a bit, how exactly it's present, and based on that, they are predicting the election results. Or you can identify or filter the spam email from the received email. I have to filter that particular email is spam or not. Okay, email is spam or not spam. That we can identify with the help of machine learning techniques. We can see foresee criminal activities. Even we can automate the traffic signal according to the road conditions. Where the high amount of traffic is there, they have to keep green signal high for max number of times. When the red signal is there, then you have to keep low traffic is there, red signal high for max number of times. Automatically should be done. So this kind of automation we can apply with the help of the machine learning techniques, or we can produce financial estimate of storm and natural disasters with this. When you can examine the customer churn, you can create autopilot in planes, auto driving cars, identify individuals' capacity to denote targeting advertisements, and many more. And some example I'll show at the end of this presentation where data science and machine learning are linked together. Data science and machine learning are linked together. How they are linked and what's the correlation that they carry. Identifies that can be used for the action, for further action. Means what pattern it is present. Multiple different 100 entries I am having. Input, output are present. When this was input, this was input, output, input, output. So what pattern that input and output is having is recognized by a technique called as pattern recognition. So many techniques which are used in machine learning are analogous to the pattern recognitions. Clustering technique that we use. There's a pattern present in that. When the pattern is recognized, then we can use this pattern to do the further predictive analytics onto it. Okay, that's what pattern recognition is called as. Okay, so machine learning contains the concept of pattern recognition, which are used to do some unsupervised kind of learning algorithms ahead with this. So a few more topics are there. We'll see the remaining topics tomorrow, or even we'll see the things practically also tomorrow. The first practical I'll show. Some requirements are that you have to do. We are doing the we'll be doing the practical live, means I'll be showing it here. You have to do on your system by your own. Make sure you are attending the session on laptop. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue with this session, as well as we will do the first practical also, step by step of your own, how to get the data, how to do the data pre-processing techniques, data pre-processing onto it, and how to perform further operation with that tomorrow. If you have any questions regarding the machine learning topic, few more topics are there yet to cover that we'll see tomorrow, along with that practical applications also. Okay, so thank you. We'll stop the session, and tomorrow we'll continue with this session as well as the practical scenario also. Thank you.